What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's video. We're finally taking this Mariner Blue FD for the good rip it deserves. Listen to this Borg Warner turbo put in some work. Woo! Now that we've left that straight road in the dust, we can do what the FD RX7 does best, and that's drive some curvy back roads. Most people, when they think of single turbo rotary, they don't think of throttle response, transient driving, the ability to just get into the gas right away and have boost to dig out of a corner. But the one thing that this EFR 7670 does is, I can't say that this drives like a V8 car, but it almost has as good of response as a good upgraded twins build. So I've driven a good amount of these cars, all different setups, from V8 FDs to big single turbo FDs to stock, as in bone stock, all the way up to like this car, which is kind of a very unique build with this super quick spooling mid-sized turbo that honestly drives much like a stock twins car with 150 more horsepower. It just digs into the corners. Most of the time with the twins, you're really not utilizing that 2,000 to 2,500 RPM quick spoolness anyways. Whereas this one's coming on full strong at 3,000 RPM, 3,500 RPM. It is ripping and it pulls out of corners like you wouldn't believe. And then as well, this blue car has Olin suspension, poly bushings. You can hear all the road debris of these 200 treadwear tires, and this thing handles phenomenally. This car has a fairly tame alignment, so it can get a little bit understeery at the limit, but if you just want to get out here and cruise the back roads in a car like this non-power rack is phenomenal. The steering feel is next to none. These poly bushings really plant you on the road, and you feel like you are just connected to the road like an analog RX7 should be. And we need to put the power down. You can just get after it. The one thing that's nice about these 200 treadwear tires, it's a 255 out back, and with this horsepower level, I think we're right at like 13 to 15 pounds of boost or so. I can't really pay attention to it. Got to keep this thing between the mustard and the mayonnaise. But these 255s will let you get a little bit loose in first gear. These are Bridgestone RE71Rs, and they plant second pretty good, plant third. And as you can see right there, this car has no problem getting down. And a matter of fact, I think I see a little 5.0 Mustang back there. And if you got a street car, the benchmark, in my opinion, is it's got to be able to hang with a stock 5.0 Mustang. And this thing would definitely do that. 2,700 pounds, 400 and some change horsepower. This thing parties. And it is a comfortable car, right? It's a super comfortable car. Turn the AC on, keep your windows up, drive around. The one thing you do notice a little bit of though is it is a rotary, so you can tell when the AC's on and when the AC's off, but that's just, you know, the no torque life of a rotary when you're sitting there at idle. But these seats are super comfortable. My only complaint, I'm 6'4", so I don't fit in FD RX7s. It's just not the car for me per se. And a lot of you longtime subscribers on the channel have seen me work on a ton of different RX7s, drive a ton of different RX7s, and really, that's my main issue with these. I'm just a big dude. So these Recaros, epic comfortable seats. They don't breathe the best though. So even with the AC on, you do get a little bit of some Yeti back sweat going on. But they do aid to fitting a taller guy in here. They sit a little bit lower than a stock FD seat. So these are the actual tilt rails. So this is a fixed bucket seat. And you can actually tilt the seat, the whole thing, forward and backwards, in addition to sliding it forward and backwards. So it's a really unique setup for a car. I've never really seen a set of tilt rails like this in all the different cars that I've driven, but it's fairly comfortable. My only real complaint with this thing is this Sparco steering wheel is super comfortable. It is still a little crooked, I gotta fix that, but it's just too close to the dash. I would need like a 4 or a 6 inch extension on a flat wheel like this in order to get it out here. so that way I can move my knees behind the wheel, because I cannot heel toe this car currently. You know, I got big size 11 peyote driving shoes on and my legs are super long. It's just, I just can't do it. But you could. One thing that the FD RX7 always gets is a ton of attention. And the best part about this one, not only is it a very unique color, Mariner Blue, which is an original Mazda color, but it is not original to this car. This car was originally silver. This car has a lovely, gritty exhaust, and as you can tell, it is not that loud. So when we get to cruise through this lovely little town, ooh, check out that rat rod. But so when we get to cruise through this little town here, and I can brake boost up that Borg Warner turbo and make every single person at that restaurant look at us. That's the one thing the FD always does. Gathers a lot of attention. And this one gets it for the right reasons, which is not loud and obnoxious, not creaky and full of exhaust leaks. Unfortunately, maybe fortunately, we don't have screamer pipes on the wastegates. This EFR turbo has an internal wastegate, and you literally cannot hear the wastegate open. And it just makes this thing a super pleasant car to drive. Unlike what most people would think out of a 1993 Mazda that sat in the sun for 30 years and just had a lot of wear and tear on all the touch points, this car has little to no rattles. It's super tight. All the buttons work. You know, none of the buttons are popping out. It's got the nice armrest on the ashtray right here. And the touch points feel, aside from my big body fitting in here, very similar to my C6 Corvette, to a newer Supra, to a newer car. It feels very modern, timeless, so to speak, when you have an FD RX7 that is well assembled, doesn't rattle, and is just a nice, clean example. And this is by far, I think the only car I've driven that gets pretty close to this is the orange LS3 swapped FD that I drove, and that car was LS swapped at 23,000 miles into its life, and the interior had never been out of it. So it was just the perfect candidate for that LS swap, and it drives basically like a Corvette that went on a diet. It just weighs nothing, puts the power down, 400 and some change horsepower. I mean, basically a clone of this car, and it would be a great experience to take two people. Speed limit went up, I can accelerate. It would be a great experience to take two car people and let them drive an LS3 swapped RX-7 that is basically perfect, and let them drive a rotary swapped RX-7. Rotary swapped? A rotary powered RX-7 with a single turbo or something that's making the equivalent horsepower. Because I feel both of them will drive almost the same. The LS3 is all aluminum. It doesn't necessarily upset the weight of the car, but power delivery of a super responsive turbo rotary, the power delivery of an LS, you're controlling a lot of that with your right foot. Like I said, the chassis, the weight distribution's not all that wrong. Your RPM range of where the horsepower is totally different. You know, this car is picking up 3,500 and you're in full speed. When you go to the LS car, you're making power 2,500 RPM to say 7 grand. Whereas this thing, you can pull it all the way to 8,500. It just rips. And this 7670 does fall off a little bit at the top, but one of the more flatter horsepower curves out of a lot of these EFR turbos, which it gets up there really quick and just holds it, and you lose a little on the big end. But this car drives fantastic for as, quote, modified as it is. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this video right here. Is this car truly worth the money that it has stuck into it? So you'll see when this thing comes up for sale here in the next couple weeks, the parts list that this car has. And let me tell you, I ran some quick numbers and some quick math on this thing, and I came up with $60,000 in parts alone fairly quickly, just going down this parts list. That doesn't include the cost of the car, and that doesn't include any labor putting this thing together. So to buy an average FD, say just a roller, is 20 grand with a nice interior. Plus you got 60K worth of parts, plus you got to pay somebody to put the whole thing together. So you're easily looking at a $100,000 Mazda RX-7. And is it worth the driving experience? Is it worth the performance value that you get out of it? So let's start with the performance value. The track that I'm most familiar with is National Corvette Museum. It is a very long, twisty, hard to remember where you're at, track. So using that as an example, my Mazda RX-8, stock drivetrain, all the suspension, my personal best lap at NCM is a 2-minute and 27-second lap. And that is moving. Now, to put that into perspective, my buddy Matt, he has a turbo Miata with aero, big tires, 200 treadwear tires. He can run under a 220. I think his personal best is a 219 and some change. Now, I'm pretty confident in my driving ability after all these track days and hundreds of laps there, that this car, in its current condition, would probably run into the low 220s at NCM. And that is a very, very respectable performing car at that track. To my buddy Matt, who I just mentioned, I know he's been around this car a little bit, Jacob and my other friends that have been there, comment on that. A 400 horsepower, 2,700 pound car with a similar handling characteristic to an RX-8, I think it's gonna run. I mean, my RX-8 makes 150 wheel horsepower, guys, and it ran a 227. So I think this thing should easily get into the low 220s, but I don't know, like use Matt's car with the aero, what stock aerodynamics of an FD is gonna affect this thing on the track. This car is one of the most beautiful OEM plus stock looks. It has 99 spec taillights, an R1 front lip, it's 93 front end, which I prefer better, hot take. Everyone's like, oh, the 99 spec looks so much cooler and more aggressive, and it does, it is more aggressive. But for a nice, tame street car like this, we don't need the aggression. We're out here cruising around, and I love the way this front end looks. But no aero does mean a wee bit slower at the track. However, I think this thing could easily compensate. Is it $100,000 worth of speed? Definitely not, because my RX-8 is easily an $8,000 car, and I bet with a wing and splitters it could run just as fast as this thing does without any drivetrain modifications. I know that Matt's Miata, he might have 25 grand in that Miata, or 30 grand. Even if he had 30, say on the big end, this car has $60,000 in parts in it, and that Miata is going to outperform it. So performance value wise, I don't think it's a $100,000 performing car, and I think you can perform better than this for less money. But let's get to the driving experience. This car, the FD, like I mentioned earlier, it gets all the attention. If you want the car that everyone loves at car shows, everyone loves to see, this bright blue, this is the car for you. If you want a car that's fun and lively on the back roads, BorgWarner EFR turbo, super quiet exhaust, beautiful performing Öhlins suspension. These poly bushings might be a little bit much. If you have a stock car with good condition suspension bushings, that's definitely not necessary. But they definitely make this thing feel 100% connected to the road. And that adds to that, is it a $100,000 back road car driving experience? I think it kind of is. And that might surprise some people who know me, because I'm not a huge fan of these FDs in general, mainly because I don't fit in them. I think they look beautiful, but I think this is a $100,000 back road car. It makes the right turbo noises, it has plenty of horsepower, it handles amazing, it's comfortable enough for road trips, and like once you stack all that stuff into just a car in general, really the only better like budget sports cars are what? Corvettes, Mustangs, 350Zs, and all of those cars, they're so much a dime a dozen that you don't get the same panache or have the same big entrance that you do in an FD RX7 at a car show. And I think you do pay a lot of money, right? Supercars, flashy paint jobs, liveries. People spend a lot of money just to have the car that looks super cool and is beautiful. And most people don't do that just for the other people. They do it because they like looking at that car. And I believe nowadays there was a silver FD bone stock 7,000 mile car just sold on Bring a Trailer for $148,000. Now I think that might be a bit excessive because you can't really go drive that car, and I don't really think these things are like that museum worthy. This car shines out here on the back road, out running Mustangs. That's where this thing shines at, not sitting in the corner of a garage. But I do still think, you know, my hot take on it, I'm thinking it might be worth the money stuck into this thing. If you're into having fun, guys, what's life about? Life is about having fun, smiling a lot, hanging out with your friends, enjoying your time here. And this car, if you love it that much to spend all that money on it, well then spend all that money on it and have a good time driving your car. I'm not going to be here to tell you you shouldn't, but I will be here to help you fix it if it breaks. So let me know in the comments below if you guys enjoyed this video. It's always a pleasure to get to drive these RX-7s, and I thoroughly enjoy sharing this experience with you guys. It's super fun to get to interact with you guys, see you guys in the comments, good, bad, whatever. Tell me what you enjoy, tell me what you don't enjoy. I love driving these cars. I'm gonna keep doing it, and I'll keep uploading videos for you guys. So, with that being said, comment below. Would you put 100 grand into an RX-7? Because I don't know that I would. I'd probably build something else. But do you think that your RX-7 is worth $100,000 in an experience compared to, I don't know, whatever you decide to compare it to? You make the call. So, with that, I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the last bit of this back road drive with the windows down, with all the raw turbo noises you could ever want here at the end of this video. When we get up here to my road that I know like the back of my hand because I drive it every day home from work, and we're gonna see what this thing can do. All right, y'all, windows down. Let's rip this thing and see what it does on this little good section of road. Brakes feel great, Öhlins feel great, power is amazing. Power delivery in a corner, it's not sketchy, it doesn't come on hard and scare you, it just pulls. This thing parties. It's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with at any track, or a force to be reckoned with you cruising around on the back roads. I'm pretty excited to have gotten to rip this thing and see what it can do. Kind of lets me want to make some good decisions on what turbo for the RX-8, in addition to any sort of turbo improvements on the RX7. So with that, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that little windows down rip here at the end, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Didn't think we'd end the video without doing a little exterior walk around. This thing looks so good out here in the sun, guys. This is right after that full send down the hill coming up to my house here. This car is basically dialed in. No exhaust leaks, sounds crispy. You can see up under here the water pump controller. So this has an electronic water pump, Sasaki bomb kit on it. Heck ready exhaust, sounding good. It does have a high flow catalytic converter, so it's not going to be one that spits huge flames. Even though it sounds like it doesn't spit huge flames. So it's also not that smelly either, which is kind of a win. Most of these rotary cars with their, like that black one up there, you dang near need a gas mask just to stand behind it. But let's conclude this video with a nice, crispy shutter down and a very hot start for you. Give it a solid few seconds here to cycle its thing off and do its thing. That electric water pump will still run for a little while when it's warm. Key back on. Moment of truth. Fires right back up. Super mint. Not only is that a testament to how good the tune is, it's also a testament to how good the parts are that are on this engine. even a good compression engine, if you've got bad injectors, bad cool, like just stuff that's old, you know, a 1993 Mazda RX7 with a brand new engine can still be really hard to start. So even this thing, with this rebuilt motor, all the good injectors, all the best of the best parts you could put on it, fires right up. Don't worry, those aren't cold revs. Those are hot revs. So with that, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. It has truly been a pleasure to have this car out here at the Rad Ranch for a little bit and to help facilitate the sale of this thing. Really want to thank my buddy Jacob for just the experience of this. It's one of the things that, if you're on the Patreon, I had a rant about this the other night. It's like, people are asking why I don't own FDs. I got a lot of friends that have FDs, so I have no reason to own one. It's kind of like a boat, right? The best boat is the friend's boat. You just go use it and you don't have to maintain it. These cars can be kind of a little bit of a nuance and fun to maintain. And I think I'm just gonna stick with my first generation RX7s. Everything screws together with bolts. There's no plastic clips. There's no $500 headlight covers to fly off. So it's an amazing car. I definitely, 100%, like I already said, I think it's worth a $100,000 driving experience. Like, this car is way more fun and way more flashy to drive than my $50,000 Corvette. You know, it's probably way more fun and way more flashy to drive than even a 997 Turbo S, right, which is 130 grand. If you parked this next to that Porsche, I would bet you'd have more people interested in this RX-7 than you would that Porsche. So, albeit in the world of cars, like we talked about, most people are judging a car and the performance value and driving experience. With the FD, it's got the performance value to back up the legendary experience of owning a Japanese classic. So, with that, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Subscribe if you want to learn more about these engines. Subscribe if you want to see more fun driving videos. Go check out the other videos on the channel and get excited, because albeit this Mariner Blue super sexy $100,000 FD came here fully built, we have the not Mariner Blue, not as super sexy right-hand drive FD that is getting ready to be built. So, check out the build series on this happening shortly. Keep it rad. See you in the next one. Letty, are you stoked I'm home from work now? Are you stoked I'm home from work? Huh? You think that blue car is a ripper? You think we should get rid of the Corvette and get an RX-7 or what? Or you think we just build the most bad first generation RX-7 and we come out and beat these guys up at the track, huh? No? You're still just stoked that I'm home? You're not here by yourself anymore? What? She's always excited when I get home from work. Peace, guys.